Welcome to everybody. I'm happy to start with with the topic that everybody actually understands. I mean, you all got up this morning, you flushed the toilet, you know that water is available, and when it's not clean anymore, it disappears, and obviously doesn't harm us and the nature. So that's a quite complex infrastructure behind it. And this is the topic I'm in. It is about the water infrastructure, the tap water or pipe water or drinking water. Well, not in every country you can drink the water out of the tap, but that's the water that's delivered. And on the other side, we have the wastewater infrastructure. We have an infrastructure that brings back the water to our water bodies in a clean way. So it's a complex system that has to grow together with our society. It is not a stable system. It's a system that is in process all the time. And I start with the water management, with the tap water. So the background is it is an absolute important system for living. I mean, you know you need water, so it's absolutely very important. But however, the good news is that we have had a lot of crises already, droughts and things. I will go into it. And the water sector always was able to have an answer to these crises. The future challenges, we all know it. It will be the climate change, of course, with extreme events such as droughts, heavy rainfalls, floodings, and these kind of problems. Then the urbanization goes on in Switzerland. I mean, you have seen the picture of Zurich. I mean, that's nothing compared to what we have in China and also the US or whatever. We are still a small player in that, but these mega cities, you have somehow make the situation possible that you can open the tap and the water comes out. And then we have new pollutants. We have a very clever chemical industry. They invent new chemical compounds, and we somehow have they will end up sooner or later in the water, and we have somehow to deal with them. We have increased renewable costs. And this is because a lot of this infrastructure we have to renew it. I mean, if you once build it, that's one side, but after a while, you have to renew it. And a lot of our infrastructure is 50 years old, and we have increasing costs in transportation treatment because of increasing energy costs. And of course, we also have an infrastructure that all regulates this, and we have probably also a cybersecurity topic on this infrastructure. So we all know that water is important, and that the United Nations Assembly did 2010 say that this is a human right. So you must have available sufficient quantity, safe for your health, physically accessible. So don't walk 2 hours for the water. It must be affordable. A very important point. It's not a luxury product. It's something that it must be affordable for everybody and accessible without any discrimination. So when we have a look on how much water you need about to drink 2 to 3 liters a day. For cooking and drinking together, it makes about 7 to 10 liters. And then you have to wash yourself, so you add another 20 liters a day. So the human minimum, we say, is around 20 liters. And then decent standard for living, we talk about 50 liters per day. But what you see how much we need approximately in Switzerland, or we consume, so it's 180 liters a day per person. That means really, without the industry behind, it's really what you need at your home. And the US, there it's about 380 liters a day. So it's a wide variety about what you really need and what you really consume. That has also something to do with on which level you want to live. Yeah, we have water infrastructure is as old as civilization. I mean, the first infrastructure on that is in Mesopotamia. We know 3,000 before Christ. So it's something that we need the water, and we bring the water to the consumer or to the agriculture. That's as old as our civilization. The Romans, you all know, they have very nice bridges built and tubes and everything. And now in the 19th century, there we realized that our health is direct correlated to the water we consume. It's not that young. It's rather young information we have. And so in the 1850, first water treatment has been made. And today we supply large cities and metropolitan areas with a very complex system. And what you see on the right side there is the waterworks Stuttgart infrastructure. So it starts at Lake Constance and it goes up to 20 kilometers. And you see all these branches. So you have a system that is on one hand centralized by where it is used, and you have a lot of decentralized places where the sources are. And this is all connected to each other, and that makes a very complex system. I don't go into details, but you have the water collection like groundwater, lake water, spring water, seawater also in arid areas. You have a treatment, filtration, disinfection, and then you have a transport system. I mean, it's a real luxury. You have now you go in the morning and you open your tap and the water comes out. So that's food actually that is delivered from maybe 200 kilometers away to your house, and you just open, and you don't really pay a lot. Does anybody know how much you pay per liter? Probably not. I mean, it's not a factor in our life. It's something that is affordable. It's not for everybody like this, but the transportation system that goes in every household is really very complex. And on the other side, we have an organization who needs to run that system. So the organization is very, very important. So usually it's municipal utilities, but we have a lot, at least in Switzerland, cooperatives. And the French and some other countries, they tried it also as private companies, but with little success. We might discuss that maybe later. Financing is also important. On one hand, we have to subsidize it. That means the state, federal pays at least a basic amount. Then we have fixed base fees for the infrastructure and then the consumption-based tariffs. So that's how we today finance the system, and it's also important whether that system is stable or not. So the crisis we went through is exponential growth of urban areas, is drought, floods, contaminants with microbes or chemical substances, system failures, power outage, but I guess we will also have some problems with cyber security on that system. Responses are actually, we have regulatory responses. We have sticking in tap water as we have made protect zones for the water collection treatment technology. So new solutions were always available, but we have to know things are getting more and more expensive. I mean, the easy collections we all have already, the easy sources we have picked. So the low-hanging fruits are picked. Now we are going into more, we are at the last 20%, which are more expensive than the first 80, you all know. So resilience for the future means, of course, we will need AI because we have a lot of reserves in the system, and we are going to use AI for using that reserves. The tubes are too big, actually. They are made for the peak and all, but we don't need the peak all the time. We have more decentralized system, and water reuse is also going to be a topic in the future. And also Israel actually is very good in doing that already. let's go to the wastewater. The wastewater is much younger. In the 50s, actually, we started with wastewater protection. Before it was actually, wastewater was just, a collecting system bringing the water to the water bodies, but there was nothing in between. It became a crisis, massive water pollution, threats of public health. What you can see, the two pictures, they are made on the same places. The one is in the 60s and the other one today. So we have had a problem. And the response was the water treatment infrastructure. So World Health Organization says wastewater treatment is, after antibiotics, the greatest contribution to human health. Maybe it's not so sexy. Yeah, I know my topic is not so sexy, wastewater treatment, and it smells ugly, but it is important. So what was the response in Switzerland? Actually, when you see in the 60s, 10% was really of the household was connected to the sewer system and to the wastewater treatment plant. And that has dramatically changed until the 90s, where now we have almost 100% of the population connected to the sewer system. And at the end of the sewer system, there is a wastewater treatment plant. So about 50 billion has been invested, and federal contribution was about 10%. Now, when we go quickly through the history of wastewater treatment, so in the 50s, there was just, a mechanical treatment, that's it. And then we went on with the biological treatment, ration system, simple in the 60s. We continued with phosphorus precipitation, so phosphor removal. And then we went on with nitrogen, ammonia elimination by nitrification. And next stop was the nitrogen elimination, denitrification. And now we ended up, why 2060, I'm going to explain, but the removal of micropollution. So now it's quite a complex system. And of course, also here, the beginning was not very expensive, but the more you add, the more it costs. But there was a nice reaction, actually, to this. We have had in the 60s, in the 50s, almost no phosphorus in our lakes. Phosphorus is the growth limiting factor for the algae. So when you increase the phosphorus concentration in your lake, then you have more algae. You have algae blooms. You cannot swim anymore, and then you can see what happened. It's a slowly system, and what happened is we have a regulation which helped to push to have more technical solutions, to have investments. So the regulation, the legislation was important, started in the 50s and ended up now 2016 with the Water Protection Ordinance, where treatment of micropollutions became a law. So in future, once again, AI will be interesting and important for more efficiency, sponge city, for the rainwater. Some of these words here you might have heard before. Phosphor recovery, phosphorus as a source, also micropollutant energy recovery also. So the future is actually already here. So we have these micropollution removal technology, for example, wastewater treatment plant here in Zurich or in Thun. They have two different technology. Actually, what you see here is a wastewater treatment plant, and behind you have a tap water treatment plant again. So we are very close. We take the last, 5% we take out now of the pollutant, which is of course also expensive, but we use the technology from tap water treatment to use here in the wastewater treatment field. Or here an example, the wastewater treatment plant of Engelberg, that's a tourist place in Switzerland, where we now produce 60% more electricity than the plant itself consumes. So the wastewater treatment plant is also a possibility to use it as a power plant for producing electricity. So what all in all, are the success factor. Legislation is really important steering instrument for development. It has an important trigger. Then high-class practice-orientated universities. We have heard today already how important it is to have an ETH, University of Zurich, here in this area for innovation. It's also the funding of the basic research. The basic research cannot be done, or only chemical industry can afford basic research, but most has to be done on federal or canton level. Then we have combination of decentralized and centralized, and then a healthy private sector. The private sector is the one, Holinger, we at the end, we did it, we built these plants, we are the one who are taking the risk of implementation. And the financing structure must be here. That's also important. So at the end, the conclusion is that if we are in the water sector resilient, we need an approach that integrates the technology, the environment, the governments, the society as a total. So it's not just one single piece. We have to focus on all topics. That's about it.
Super, many thanks.